Warning: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purpose such as a criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. All people are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I reserve my First Amendment rights to express myself. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Dish and Tea with D show. Hello. Welcome, Pub Family. Welcome, Pub Family. How's everybody doing today? It is, Monday? Monday. So let's get into it. So we are now June, everybody. We are halfway through the year. Can you imagine that? Like, I could have sworn it just turned 2025. But we are June 2nd. So I'm just hoping I wasn't supposed to do anything. Oops, I was supposed to make an order this week. Oh well. So what we're gonna do is this month. It is last month was National Missing Children's Day, so Vivid Lifestyle is going to be honoring elderly abuse awareness this month. National Elderly Abuse Awareness for the Elderly is June 15th, which is Sunday. So we will be honoring them. We are definitely going to try to set up our event for that day. Like I said, we secured the location. We just haven't secured a date yet. Also, it just kind of depends on funding. So please go to the link down below to donate to Vivid Lifestyles VVLS, or you can use the QR code. It should get you there. My husband was able to work, but for some reason, when I do it from my phone, it doesn't work. I just don't know if it's the like what do you call it? The what is it called? The secure connection thing. I may have something on to where it's not letting the website come up. So again, like I said, it worked for my husband on his phone for some reason, but not on mine. So it might just be that I have my settings are probably on private, like secure network instead of non-secure network. So but if anything, if you just copy and paste the link that's going by, enter it in your web address or go to the description of this video or my channel, and all the places have the link space / addition to website link on it, so you can click on it. And it's the first button to donate to Vivid Lifestyles. Again, we help heal the wound of abuse. Usually, we provide temporary housing for anybody who's in an abusive situation. I shouldn't say relationship, just situation in general. It could be man, woman, adult, child. So abuse does not discriminate. So again, this month is going to be we're recognizing elderly abuse. So we're going to kind of get into it, kind of talk about the facts and the history and things like that. So let's kind of get into it. Um, oh, it's the school. Okay, it's just this automated um, school message, whatever. So anyway, we were about to get into the information. Let me pull that up. So again, World Elder Abuse Awareness Day is observed annually on June 15th. In 2025, it will be celebrated on Sunday, June 15th. This day is recognized globally to raise awareness about elder abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Um, so, yeah, there are all types of abuse. We already know there's physical abuse, emotional abuse, S abuse, financial abuse, and neglect. Um, so, according to um, Webster's dictionary, Merriam-Webster's dictionary, the definition of abuse is a corrupt practice or custom. Um, it's improper or excessive use or treatment. Language that condemns or vilifies, usually unjustly, intemperately, and angrily. Physical maltreatments, and then it's basically obsolete, a deceitful act of deception. We have the word, and that's as a noun. We have abuse as verb, which is to put to wrong or improper use, to use excessively, to use without medical justification, to use or treat so as to injure or damage, um, to attack in words, and then it's obsolete, like deceive. So again, there's several different definitions for abuse. Um, Although abuse is abuse, regardless of what definition you use. Abuse awareness refers to understanding and recognizing different forms of abuse, including physical, emotional, sexual, and financial abuse, and the impact that they have on individuals. It also involves taking It also involves taking steps to prevent abuse and support those affected by it. So then we'll go into the different types of abuse, importance of abuse awareness, prevention, which is recognizing abuse, can help prevent further harm and intervene when necessary. Um, the importance of abuse awareness is to support. Awareness can help those affected by abuse find support and resources. Um, it also educates. So educating others about abuse can create a safer environment for everyone. And reporting abuse. Recognizing signs of abuse can lead to timely reporting and intervention. So being able to recognize some of the signs of abuse can potentially save somebody's life. And then we have and then, of course, some types of abuse besides elderly abuse, we have Child Abuse Awareness Month, which was back in April, and then we have the World Elder Abuse, which is in June, and then Domestic Violence Awareness Month is in October, and then we have, and then I'll go ahead. Oh, you know what? I should put these in the chat, and then put them on my. I will update this information and put this in the chat and put it on what do you call it, in the description of the video. Again, National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-SAFE. That is SAFE, or 7233. National Child Abuse Hotline is 1-800-422-4453. And of course, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is 1-800 The Lost, or 1-800-843-5678. And so let's get into this. So, according to justice.gov, the U.S. Department of Justice, let me go ahead and share the screen so people don't think I am lying or anything. Okay. So, in the United States, it is estimated that over 10% of those age 65 and older experience some form of elder abuse in a given year. So, just in a year. Who is yelling outside my stupid door? Oh, sorry, had to yawn too. Okay, so what is elder abuse? We already discussed what abuse is, so now obviously it's going to be abuse, but directly towards obviously elderly people. Elder abuse is an intentional or negligent act by any person that causes harm or a serious risk of harm to an older adult. It is a term used to describe five subtypes: physical abuse, psychological or mental abuse, financial exploitation, neglect and abandonment, and sexual abuse. We'll go deeper into those maybe throughout other videos. I'm not too sure like how in depth they go, but we will cover them eventually. The trauma of elder abuse can result in premature death, the deterioration of physical and psychological health, destruction of social and family ties, devastating financial loss, and more. Older adults are being mistreated in multiple settings: homes, nursing homes, assisted living facilities. And I used to do medical billing and coding, and trust me, I've worked with all types. I've done family practice, I've done like basic PCPs, I've done psychology, I've done medical billing for psychiatry, um, nursing homes, things like that. So I'm pretty familiar with all types. I've done cardiology, things like that. So, and believe it or not, like I don't like tests, so I probably don't have a certification in any of those. But I do have a certification in medical billing and coding. But they can get into specific um parts, and it just means that you're more well knowledge in an area than just the basic general information. But anyway, so nursing home, okay, by family members, friends, and neighbors, professionals, and strangers. So trust me, living facilities and nursing homes, unfortunately, they are not the best. I mean, there's some, yes, but you will be paying. There are some facilities who are, you know, are providing the care that is necessary for the patient, but sometimes they're just those type of facilities, they're usually overworked and underpaid, and unfortunately attitude just kind of overtakes some of the bedside manners, and it can lead to hate, it can lead to frustration, it can lead to revenge, resentment, definitely resentment. So nurses and them just tend to not really care about the patients, just for the fact of outside influences like pay and things like that. But um yeah, unfortunately, I really wish there was more they can do in regards to nursing homes and assisted living facilities. But yeah, it's just so sad when your own family can't is unable to care for an elder family member. It is really sad. And welcome, 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 Rainbow Tasha. How are you today? How are you on this wonderful Monday? It's a wonderful Monday. So, hopefully everything's going good on this Monday. It's almost 4 or 5 o'clock. I'm not sure if you're at work or what, but the day's almost done. The day is almost done. So, anywho, so anyway, the EJI, which is the Elder Justice Initiative, um, provides several scenarios and red flags to help public understand the 5 types of abuse. An elder abuse case has many stages from the incident through investigation, prosecution, and victim recovery. The EJI seeks to improve outcomes at each stage by providing resources, training, and information, and by promoting a multidisciplinary response to elder abuse. Know your crime, victim rights. Okay, so let's see. That's still a lot over 10%. Like, who would want to be mean to an old person? I mean, if anything, you should be gaining their knowledge because old people have some knowledge. They may not have iPad knowledge or tablet knowledge, but they got some, trust me, when there's going to be um if there's any kind of destruction to the earth or anything and we got to start all over, ooh, honey buns, you wish you would have been listening to some of these elderly folks who have been there without some of these items that y'all rely on today. So physical abuse, we're just going to kind of go through this website. Physical abuse by adult grandson. Ooh, physical abuse by adult grandsons. Catherine, 82, raised 2 grandsons, Joel and Kent. They had physically abused her since they were teenagers. After 12 years in prison, Joel returned to his grandmother's home because he had nowhere to go. Oh, and this grandma took him back. See, you gotta be nice to your grandparents. You gotta be nice to the elderly, guys. One night, Joel came home and was drunk. He banged on the door, but Catherine told Joel to go away. After he entered the house through a back window, Joel beat his grandmother. Catherine went to a neighbor's house and called 911. Joel was arrested and Catherine was taken to the hospital. The police contact Adult Protective Services. So, yes, it can happen. Even the elderly get abused. It's not just for children, and it's just not women who get abused. Elderly people get abused. And unfortunately, it was an elderly woman in this case that got abused. But elderly men get abused too, especially when it comes to financial abuse. These elderly people know that they receive regular checks through the mail, either whether it's SSI or disability or whatever, and they'll take them for all they got. And these poor elderly people, they don't want to see their grandkids or their own kids or any family member struggle. So they're willing to do what they need to do to make sure that the younger generation is okay, not realizing the younger generation is actually making a mockery of the older generation. Um, Oh, I'm starting to smell my food. Let me go check I actually have my food in a slow cooker, so it's not like it's gonna burn or anything, but let me just kind of go quickly check it. So that is a story. Um, so the next story, when George 79 lost his wife of 50 years to cancer, his son Lawrence came to live with him. Lawrence was on disability due to a traumatic brain injury. Oh. The brain injury caused behavior changes, including difficulty with self control and verbal and physical outbursts. See, the injury also caused violent mood swings. Occasionally, Lawrence went to a neighbor's apartment and got drunk. One night, when Lawrence returned home, George asked him if he was drunk. Lawrence yelled no and punched his father in the face. Because George was afraid of further violence, he called 911 to get help from the police. So, again, like I said, elderly men can get abused too. It's just, in this case, this is a harder situation because the son did have brain a traumatic brain injury. So, and it did affect his behavior. So, this is something that maybe the son should have been maybe in a special hospital himself, where he was a behavior place where he was able to be looked at um, or monitored more closely, and instead of leaving it up to his elderly parents, because there was just no way. Um, Even at that age, at 79, you're unable to care for somebody with a brain trauma injury. So this was just a bad case all around. Um, if the son was able to, if they were able to have the right nurse and the right assistance for his son, I believe that probably wouldn't have happened to George. But being 79, I'm pretty sure they didn't have the ability to help George in that manner. So the only way is to let him stay with you. And that's unfortunate with these elderly folks. Sometimes they're just not in the position to continue to raise certain types of children, especially somebody with like a brain injury or somebody who has like some type severe autism or things like that, where an elderly person is just not able to manage them and able to care for them appropriately, and then they end up getting hurt in the long run, even though that's not what in none of their intentions were. I'm sure the son was that's not his intentions. Physical abuse by a spouse. After 58 years of marriage, Virgil and Ella, both 83, knew each other's habits well. Sometimes when they argued, they became physically violent. Nevertheless, they said they loved each other and never considered divorce. Violence was unfortunately a part of their relationship. As Ella aged, she developed osteoporosis. She began to worry that if she fell down when they were fighting each other, she might end up with a broken bone. She confided this to a friend, and her friend suggested calling the local domestic violence hotline to speak with the counselor. So, in this case, I mean, um, yes, she did advise her to go speak to a counselor. I'm sure the counselor was able to counsel her correctly. I'm not saying whether she made her leave or she tried to talk, because sometimes when you're in that age, both 83, 58 years of marriage, you're kind of stuck in that routine. Like she said, that it was just another part of the relationship that probably nobody understood. Um, but as she got older, your body does deteriorate a little bit. So she was worried that, one bad move could cost her life, not just a broken bone, but could make her have a heart attack, could make her have a stroke, could have her cause a seizure or anything in this case. So, yeah, so it was best to definitely get the couple some help, especially the wife, if she was worried about things like that. Um, not knowing how abusive it is. I mean, abuse is abuse, but I'm not saying she was totally beat to where it was oblivious. Doesn't mean that can't happen, but she's been in that situation for a long time, and it's probably something she's used to. Another story is a physical abuse by a guardian or conservator. Sounds like it just reminds me of whenever I hear conservator or conservatorship, it just brings me back to Britney Spears. Anyway, Blair, 65, had no close relatives. Because of early onset dementia, he was placed in a nursing home and required guardianship. Again, these homes, and I can't say it's one or the other because, according to some of these, it can be from a family member who can abuse you. It could be like a family member who financially abuses you. It could be a family member who verbally abuses you, an elderly. But when they're put into like a nursing home or anything, the chances of an elderly being abused, the chances go extremely up. So during the last visit, Chris began slapping Blair. Oh, it says he guardian put Blair's nursing home for a few months to see how. Okay, Chris. Chris, Blair's guardian, came to Blair's nursing home every few months to see how Blair was doing. During the last visit, Chris began slapping Blair to wake him up. Joan, a care attendant, rushed to the room when Blair began crying out for Chris to stop. Joan noticed marks on Blair's face and asked what happened. Blair was unable to tell Joan what happened, but Chris quickly left the room. Joan reported the incident to the supervisors, who helped her make a report to Adult Protective Services. The report triggered involvement by the state ombudsman and local law enforcement. So again, in this case, it was the nurse. I mean, that's what they're there for. They're there to monitor and stuff. So she was actually in the right. So this nurse actually um reported the son, or not even the son. This was just a guardian. Because remember, he didn't have any close relatives, so he just needed to have somebody being responsible and making the medical decisions for him that he wasn't capable of making for himself. But that doesn't give him the right to slap him either. Like, I can understand you're trying to wake somebody up. I mean, that's the way my mom. I'm a heavy sleeper, so my mom used to, and she had a heavy hand. I'd be like, "Ma, stop!" And she would just tap me, and it wasn't hard, but it was like this. But her hand was so heavy, and I'm like, "Dude, like your hand weighs 200 pounds itself. Like, get it off me." I'd be like, I'm up." But in this point, like he was slapping her till he was crying, like to the point to where Joan had to come in and step in. So good job for Joan. This is kind of why I am not in the medical fields, because yeah, I couldn't. And then when, especially if you report something and then nothing gets done, like, oh no, I couldn't. I had to leave. Like, sorry, got to go. Bye. And make my report. So this is another story. Physical abuse by long-term care aide. So again, these are the numbers for the hotlines, for the domestic violence hotline, the child abuse hotline, and the missing and exploited children hotline. So definitely want to write those down, save them, put them on your fridge. You never know who need them. Just because you don't know, if you don't need them, doesn't mean you don't know somebody who may need them. So again, physical abuse by long-term care aide. Monica, 79, was placed in a long-term care facility when her ALS became severe and her family could no longer care for her. Her family became concerned when they saw bruising on her arms and back. Monica was not able to speak and could not tell her family how she got the bruises. Monica's family asked the staff about the bruising, but was not satisfied with the explanation. The family also noticed that when a certain aide helped bathe her, Monica became upset and agitated. They suspected that the aide was hitting Monica and called local law enforcement. So, yes, so that is one thing. You always want to look for signs, especially when it comes to the elderly. Like, they, when they have certain types of um, conditions, medical conditions, it'll mess with their functions, their mobility, their speech. Like, they'll return to being a baby. Basically, you lose all sense of how to manage your life, how to walk, how to do any of the basic necessities to care for yourself. So so for the patient not being able to speak, that is clearly um natural, and it's pretty normal. um So for them not being able to speak, people think that gives them the right to be able to abuse them because they're not able to explain to anybody or inform anybody of any of the incidents that are going on. But in this case, you know, Monica would get agitated, because just because she's not able to speak does not mean she's aware. I mean, babies can sense stress, they can sense danger, they can sense that something is wrong, and they're gonna know, they're gonna remember that they don't like you. Like, she understands that this lady, she doesn't want to be touched by this lady because this lady's more than likely hurting her. And to pick up those little signals is like, you really got to understand your family members, because something like that to be overlooked, like, oh, the family members could easily be like, ma, or whoever this was, grandma, ma, sister, quit overreacting, she's got to give you a bath, blah 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 blah. But they didn't. They realized that that wasn't her normal behavior, and for her to act like that, there was a reason for it, and it needed to be investigated. So there's all types of elderly situation. These are just a few stories. Again, this is just the physical abuse. We're gonna go over all the other little abuses shortly. And then it states, did this happen to you or someone you know? Has anyone hit, kicked, bit, slapped, or thrown things at you? Has anyone held or tied you down or locked you in a room or building? Has anyone shaken, pinched, or burnt you? And this is not just for the elderly, this is just all across the board for being physically abused. Has anyone shaken, pinched, or burned you? Has anyone physically hurt you so that you suffered some injury, such as cuts, bruises, or other marks? Has anyone pushed, shoved, or grabbed you? Has anyone used a knife or gun on you? Has anyone not allowed you to go to the bathroom? This brings me up a story. We'll get to that in a second. Oh no. Has anyone not? I used, believe it or not, when I was at my grandma's house, I used to make her so upset with this. I would ask to go to the restroom, and she's like, "Why you just go, mija? Like, you gotta go, mija, go to the bathroom, go." So I guess I would, but it was just like, I would, like, I just felt very disrespectful if I didn't ask to do something in somebody else's house. Like, that's just how I was raised. But at the same time, it's like, it's grandma's house. You think, my my babies go to my parents' house, like, which is their grandma's house, and they, first thing they do, they go open the fridge, they go do this. I'm like, hey, wait, like, because we didn't do that. Like, I know I didn't do that when I went to my grandma's house. Well, when, there were certain rules and that you followed, but restroom was like, she would just look at me so weird, like, what are you talking about? Like, go to the restroom if you need to go. Like, I'm not gonna tell you no, but if you keep asking me, I'm gonna tell you no. And I was like, so I wouldn't ask, and then I wouldn't even go, and she's like, dude, you haven't gone to the restroom all day, do you need to go? Yes, can I go to the restroom? She was like, well, why didn't you say something? She goes, well, I told you, you told me not to ask, or I wasn't gonna be able to go. But in that case, that's not like any kind of abuse. That was just us being crazy, I guess. But anyway, yeah. But if they don't allow you to use a restroom, like, literally, like, they're serious, they lock the restroom or they do whatever, like, no, like, they need to allow you to use the restroom. Has anyone given you too much or too little medication? Too much because they're trying, I'm not going to say they're trying to overdose you, but for the most part that's they're either trying to really sedate you so they don't have to deal with you, or they give you too little because they do want you to suffer and they want to see you suffer. So I mean, either way it's still abuse and it's still crazy in the head. So some of the warning signs of physical abuse include bruises, black eyes, welts, laceration, and rope marks, bone fractures, broken bones, or skull fractures, open wounds, cuts, punctures, untreated injuries in various stages of healing. So let's just say 1 week you had I should say he because it's not always a boy. A person broke your finger, and then the next that one was starting to heal. The next time you had a broken arm, and then you're like, "Wait, what happened here?" And then why do you have a broken arm this week? That kind of thing. So this one's probably already starting to heal, but they're at different times and various stages of healing. Sprains, dislocations, or internal injuries or bleeding, broken glasses, frames, physical signs of being subject to punishment or signs of being restrained. Like if you see marks on, ligature marks on their wrist or legs, then more than likely they were probably tightened down. Laboratory or even handcuffed. Laboratory findings of medication overdose or underutilization of prescribed. So they're just let's just say when you go to the doctor, they're asking how many pills do you have left of your 30-day prescription, and you only say 15, and it's only really been like 10 days, and you're like, okay, what the heck? There should be no way that you should only have it. You should have at least 25 or whatever, 20, or the vice versa. Let's just say, you're supposed to be taking them every day and you still have 30 pills and it's been 15 days. It's like, why haven't you been taking the other? Like, you should be empty right now asking for a refill. Um, an elder's report of being hit, slapped, kicked, or mistreated. An elder's sudden change in behavior. So like that elderly lady who was being abused by the attendant, the aide. Her behavior would change while she was around. The caregiver's refusal to allow visitors to see an elder alone. So that's also another one. So let's just say you do have a family member in a nursing home or a living facility, and let's just say they know you're a frequent, visitor, or let's just say you even come only once a month, whether you're frequent or frequently non-frequent frequent user, visitor. Um, and then they just say, or they make an excuse, oh, you know what, it's during her bathing time, can you come back another day? Or she's at yoga or something, or she's being seen by the doctor, or she's in therapy right now, she's having a group session, she's having this. If they're always having an excuse or a reason for you not to see your loved one, then I would really push to see them even further, because something's not right. It is definitely because they're hiding something. um, You definitely want to report abuse once you find out. Then we have psychological abuse. So Rosie, we're gonna go through some stories and kind of talk over some of the examples. So psychological abuse by a stranger. Rosie, 75, lived alone in an independent senior housing community. Her next door neighbor, a disabled retiree, repeatedly emailed her rude messages and sent vulgar and threatening messages to her cell phone. Fearing her neighbor might harm her if she told him to stop, Rosie contacted law enforcement and filed criminal charges, as well as petitioned for a civil restraining order something like this, you definitely want to be drugs. So I wouldn't necessarily, and it's very hard to find drugs in the area. So I'm just saying. Um, but definitely want to call law enforcement and get that restraining order. That'll be her safest bet. Doesn't stop to make sure he doesn't do anything, because he still needs to violate that restraining order in order for him to go to jail, right? So there still has to be some kind of contact in order for him to be put away. But until then, as long as he minds the restraining order and doesn't text or call her anymore, she should be fine. But again, being fearful for your life is definitely abuse. Like, and it's like he was sending her messages and threatening messages and things like that. That is psychological. um it messes with your head, where you're constantly thinking, you're always in constant fear of something happening, even though there you might not even be in a position to where something bad can happen. But it's just that's how your mind works at the time. Once you're psychologically abused, it's very hard to like reverse that kind of damage that people do. Psychological abuse by his son. Let me check my messages. Nothing yet. Okay, I am gonna go and check my food real quick, peoples. Get your tablet, baby. I don't know which one's yours, but get yours and then go lay down on the bed over here. And the other one's sleeping. Is that one yours? Yeah. Okay. So that is that. So we're gonna do psychological abuse by a spouse. Sarah, 75, had been married for over 50 years to Sal, who was abusive. The abuse had a pattern. Her husband would start following her around, watching her every move. Then he would make comments under his breath. Finally, he would start pointing his finger in her face and pushing her around. Since Sal's retirement, this pattern seemed to be getting worse and happening more often. Sarah picked up a pamphlet on domestic violence at her synagogue and decided to make her first call for help. From her conversation with domestic violence advocates, she learned about resources in her area and steps she could take to be safe. So, again, a lot of the times they're not going to just come in and pull you away from your partner. They're they will when you call the hotline, they are definitely going to assess the situation to the best of their ability and give you the right information. They're not unless there was a crime involved at the time, then they will call law enforcement and the other person will get taken away. But if it's something like this where they're just yelling at her and making fun of her, basically degrading her, and whatnot, um, and a bunch of yelling, this is something that most of the time therapists really try to work through and talk through and really try to get the communications lines open, so that way there'll be less ang- anger there amongst them. But of course, that always isn't the answer. Sometimes you need to leave your spouse, but in this situation they really didn't go into much detail. It just says pushing her around, so I mean, it could have been more of a like a 2 year, like a playground, kindergarten, first grade kind of thing when you're on the playground and a little push and shove, but still it more of a necessary of a bully than that sounded like more of a bully, and that bully can't, and bullies, being bullied is a psychological issue too. So, um, still abuse. So again, definitely want to call those hotlines. Definitely want to get information first before doing anything drastic, especially when you are in an abusive situation where you don't want to make the other person mad. It's best to try to resolve it another way before really putting them out of the equation, which can make matters a lot worse. So definitely get information, get the resources first, and then handle the business that you need to handle. That way everything's safe. You definitely don't want to go to somebody who's abusive and be like, well, I'm leaving you. Sweetheart, if you have nowhere to go yet, I wouldn't be saying that. So make sure you always have your plan and you're always ready, and when the time comes, you're ready to go. Mark, 75, had Alzheimer's disease and was beginning to have severe memory loss and trouble walking around the house. Mark's paid caregiver, Yolanda, asked the court to appoint a guardian. Each time the guardian, Miss McKee, visited with Mark, she made fun of his memory problems and inability to remember where he was or even who Yolanda was. Yolanda became worried about Mark and the fact that Miss McKee, the court appointed guardian, did not seem to take Mark's condition seriously. Yolanda called Adult Protective Services and the probate court to review Mark's guardianship. Now, again, I'm not sure why they would even put Miss McKee as a guardianship. It didn't say that he didn't have any other relatives or anything. This was just his paid caregiver. Um, I mean, not. I mean, it wasn't his paid. I mean, this was just an appointed guardian from the courts. So I'm not sure where this Miss McKee came from, but if anything, if he didn't like have anybody, then I think they should have just put him in a home. Like, that's just so unfortunate. But see, there needs to be more things for the elderly, because when you're elder and you don't have anybody, it's like, where do you go and who's going to pay for your stuff? Like, this is when people get abused, because it's like, oh, now he's just here just to take up space, and that's not what it is. Did this happen to you or someone you know? Has anyone verbally attacked, scolded, or yelled at you so that you felt threatened or intimidated or afraid for your safety? Has anyone made you feel embarrassed by calling you names such as stupid, telling you that your opinion was worthless, or blaming you for things that you did not do? Has anyone talked to you so that you felt that they were talking to a child? Has anyone forcefully or repeatedly asked you to do something so that you felt forced into doing something against your will? Has anyone close to you completely refused to talk to you or ignored you for days at a time, even when you wanted to talk to them? Has anyone kept you away from family, friends, or regular activities against your will? Has anyone close to you looked at you in such a way that you felt afraid that they were going to hurt you? Have you felt that someone was watching you every move to try to control you, or that person was stalking you? Creepy. Have you felt that someone was watching you? Oh, I already said that. Has anyone you know made unwanted phone calls to you, or left messages, or sent unwanted emails, texts, or instant messages to you? Warning signs for emotional psychological abuse include being emotionally upset or agitated, being extremely withdrawn, non communicative, or non responsive, unusual behavior such as sucking, biting, rocking, and elders report of being verbally or emotionally mistreated, witnessing a caregiver controlling an adult An older adult or isolating an older adult, exhibiting a change in sleeping patterns or eating habits, personality changes such as apologizing excessively or depression or anxiety. So, of course, if they're withdrawn, if they're just always feel like they need to apologize for something, even for the minor things that they really should be apologizing for, like having to go to the restroom, my bad. Um, and elders report being like just verbally. So again, that is all the psychological. So we're going to talk about the financial exploitation. If it wants to pull up. There we go. There's only 3 stories in this one. Financial exploitation by family, close friend, or neighbors. Well, but they do got several stories in here. So apparently, financial exploitation seems to be, or financial abuse seems to be a major one. Like I said, elderly, if it's not physical or psychological, financial abuse is one of the larger ones amongst elderly, only because they get monthly checks, whether it's SSI, which is Social Security, or disability, anything like that, retirement. Um, so some of these elderlies can have up to 3 or 4 checks. So they are really known to be financially exploited a lot of the times. Financial exploitation, which is fraud by spouse. John, 68, and Bernice, 65, had a second marriage. John worked as an engineer and Bernice stayed home. Jointly, they had purchased 22 acres with a second home for their retirement. Trying to mend poor relationships with her sons from her first marriage, Bernice asked John to add one son to the property deed. He agreed. While John was on business trip, Bernice faxed John the last 3 pages of the deed for his signature. He signed and returned the form. Unknowingly, he had signed a form deeding the entire property to Bernice, who then gifted the property to her son. John contacted a lawyer. Wow, so she's a little slick one. She was trying to claim all 22 acres for her and her son. Huh. And then we have financial exploitation, identity theft by adult child. So that means the elderly, their kid is an adult already, and they're basically their child is claiming to be them. So Joseph and Malvina, I've seen that name before. I wonder if these are like, obviously these are not really their real names, I think. But anyway, both 80 and retired had taken in their daughter after her release from prison. Again, these elderlies, oh my goodness. Soon after she moved in, the couple received one credit card bill for 8,347, another for 12,694, and a third for $10,012. The couple had no idea their daughter had used their credit cards or that she had opened additional credit card accounts in her mother's name. Now, Joseph and Malvina were faced with significant debt. The couple's other old adult child contacted Adult Protective Services, the credit card company, and the Federal Trade Commissions. Wow. So these cases are extreme. Like she, I mean, they're 80. Like I get it. You're probably thinking like, oh, they don't need their credit anymore. But geez, what if they want to go on one last hurrah? Like how are they gonna pay for their funeral arrangements so that way you guys, the kids, don't have to pay for them? Like, oh my goodness. Like why? Or maybe they were planning on leaving that money to your to your kids, their grandkids. Like that is just insane. Like I don't get what goes through people's heads when they're taking people's monies like that. Buggy, go away. So financial exploitation, theft by guardian or conservator. So this is what happens a lot, like Britney Spears and all these other people who want to who they don't want to get under conservatorship, but like Wendy Williams and all this stuff who are under conservatorship, who get pretty much trapped into a conservatorship, I should say. Monte, 82, had moderate dementia and required guardianship due to his worsening disease. Unfortunately, Monty had never given his only son, Samson, power of attorney. Monty also no longer had sufficient mental capacity to execute a power of attorney for Samson, who now lived out of state. Monty's personal assistant, John, handled all of Monty's financial transactions for him. Sampson was concerned about John's access to his father's finances and reviewed Monty's account statements while visiting his father over the summer. Sampson discovered that several times John had taken over $3,000 from one of Monty's little used accounts. Sampson contacted the investment firm, local law enforcement, and adult protective services for help. So, again, this is another situation of what happens with the elderly. So, if you are out of town and you have an elderly parent, like out of state in another state, definitely want to get some kind of power of attorney over them, even though you may not need it. Like, see, people don't understand, like, just because you have power of attorney doesn't mean you no longer can make decisions for yourself. um I mean, well, yeah, that's technically what it means, but you could the definitely sign up for a power attorney before being leaving, your kids, to make, certain choices for you. But you can still go to the doctor by yourself. They don't have to be there with you. It's just major things like if you were on life support or something that they need to, like, it's really in case for emergencies. It's really not, I mean, they're not going to say, oh, you're in a conservatorship, so we can't give you a shot for the flu. Like, no, or you're under guardianship, we can't give you a shot for the flu. No, you can take yourself to the doctor. You can take yourself to the emergency room. You can take yourself there. Um, it's just really, really more about the decision making that can be long term, like your death. Anyway, financial exploitation, misuse of power of attorney by relative. Russell, 88, needed help managing his day to day affairs. His nephew Jack was out of work and offered to come and live with Russell and help him while Jack looked for a job. Jack took his uncle to the bank saying he wanted to protect Russell's money. Russell told the bank teller to add Jack to his bank accounts. Never add anybody to your bank accounts. Jack then downloaded a power of attorney form from the internet and had Russell sign it. With the POA, Russell's credit card company added Jack as a second user to his credit card. When Russell's sister visited him, she asked about the situation. Russell told her that he thought their nephew was stealing money. She and Russell went to the bank and learned that Jack had spent a considerable amount of his uncle's money. The sister alerted bank officials, adult protective services, and local law enforcement. Russell filed for an emergency civil protective order to have Jack removed from his home. Because that's the only way. Now he was going to have to go through the whole eviction process, and that is worse. But if you go and put a protective order within so many range. It's friend. Using her own computer, Michelle established an online account to help Ye pay her bills. However, Michelle wrote checks for some of her own bills as well as for Ye's bills. Ye was unaware that Michelle was writing checks for herself until she saw a return check made out to a cell phone company. Ye didn't own a cell phone. When she checked her account, Ye discovered that most of her money was gone. Ye contacted local law enforcement and asked her bank to investigate. Wow. So Michelle wasn't even your friend, homie. You became friends. They became friends. They weren't really, I wouldn't consider this a friend. They became acquaintances. And Michelle established an online account to help Ye pay her bills. However, Michelle wrote checks for some of her own bills as well as for Ye's. Financial exploitation promises exchange by acquaintance. Do you want to go take a bath right now? Or are you gonna wait till later? Later. Okay. So financial exploitation by acquaintance, promises exchanged. So Barbara 76, a retired high-ranking federal government employee, was independent and lived alone. She was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease and knew she would need more help in the future. Barbara asks Margie, a former neighbor who was recently divorced, to move in with her. Over time, they agreed that Margie would care for Barbara in her old age, and that in return, Barbara would provide Margie with food and housing. Barbara gave Margie her power of attorney for gave her power of attorney for access to all her accounts and named her the sole beneficiary of her investment portfolio. After several months, Barbara noticed her accounts were almost empty and called local law enforcement, which also notified Adult Protective Services. So basically she was only really supposed to care for her, basically like pay her rent, pay the bills, the phone, the energy, the electricity, things like that. But apparently Margie was taking a little bit more off the top when she wasn't supposed to, because it was clearly only you were only supposed to be living there for free and getting food for free. Anything else like clothes, um beauty products, anything like that would have had to come out of her own pocket. So, and then if she wasn't working, where was she going to get the money from? So, I mean, it's kind of hard when you try to do trade, when you do trade like that. But yes, that is still wrong and we don't do that. Financial exploitation by trusted professionals. So these are going to be like your investment brokers, bankers, tax people, anything in that category. Financial exploitation, inappropriate products by investment broker. Jackie was a successful investment broker. She had a reputation for making her clients wealthy. Recently, Julio, 80, asked Jackie for her financial advice. She recommended investments that had high growth potential but were risky for older adults. When Julio's daughter reviewed his investment portfolio, she found he had investments that wouldn't provide a return for 30 years and would do Julio little good. Julio contacted the futures trading commissions to check the background of financial professionals, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and Adult Protective Services. So basically, this lady was trying to get him into investments that wasn't even going to make him money. Basically, he wouldn't even, and he's 80. In 30 years, he would more than likely wouldn't even be on this planet. So why was she doing this, and where was the money going, and who was going to have access to after those 30 years? Financial exploitation investment fraud by financial advisor. So Millie, 63, was a public school cafeteria worker who saved for retirement and wanted to help her grandson go to college. A friend recommended Tom, a polite, outgoing financial advisor. Millie didn't understand the stock market, but after attending a retirement seminar, trusted trusted Tom to trusted Tom to invest her money. When she wanted to give her grandson money for college, Millie learned most of the money she had invested was gone. Tom had created fake account statements that showed Millie was making money. Millie contacted Tom's company and reported him to the Attorney General and Adult Protective Services in her state. So basically, again, this is another form of fraud, I guess. Yeah, investment fraud. Um, Clearly, Millie, this advisor basically told her to invest. Basically, what happened, Millie gave this investor like $5,000 and said, invest it in what is going to make the most money for me. And then she realized after a while, when she went back to go check to see, well, when grandson needed the money, she went back to go see how much this, let's just say 5,000 accumulated, and apparently there was nothing left. So it's like, where did this $5,000 go? And it ended up being that these accounts that were showing she had money were actually fake, and there was really nothing in there. Financial exploitation, investment fraud by tax preparer. Alex and an accountant gave discounts for tax preparation to clients who were over age 65. He built a clientele of wealthy, older, single adults, widows, and widowers, and found ways to get them tax refunds. Many of Alex's clients gave him power of attorney. He also served as the financial advisor. Upon request, Alex gave his clients a statement of their account. Otherwise, he called clients with good news about their investments or about tax loopholes that he took advantage of for the client. When a client's son learned that the deed to his father's house was in Alex's name, he looked into his father's finances and discovered Alex controlled all of his father's assets. The client's son contacted the Attorney General, IRS, and Adult Protective Services in his father's estate. So yeah. So this is kind of like, I don't know if y'all ever seen Rocky. And you know how they have Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, Rocky 5. Probably. Then they came out with a Creed 1, and a Creed 2, and a Creed 3, and all these other ones. So, you know how the Rocky's brother-in-law, the wife's brother, you know how he basically said that he didn't realize what he was signing, obviously, but he ended up signing like power of attorney to the financial advisor while Rocky was gone. I think it was a Rocky 4 when he was fighting that Russian. But anyway, Came back and all the money was gone. They lost the house. He lost everything because he basically signed over all his rights and stuff over to this guy. Now I don't know if he could have like I would have said, "Hey, that guy is crazy. He shouldn't have given away my stuff," but it happens. Financial exploitation forgery by professional caregiver. Um, a Marjet, a Marjet 91 paid his own bills. When he opened his bank statement, he noticed four $150 checks had been made out to his home health aide. He knew he had not written or signed the checks. Amarjit contacted his bank and local law enforcement. So that is about $600 that she took. Hopefully, it was worth it for forging his name or a complete check for that matter. Financial exploitation and properly obtained power of attorney by professional caregiver. Roman 84 was bedridden. He hired Bob to provide caregiving services. Soon after, Bob forged Roman's signature to create a fake power of attorney that gave Bob the power to act in Roman's place. Using this illegal power of attorney, the bank allowed Bob to put his name on Roman's savings and checking accounts. Bob explained to the bank that Roman agreed to the change but couldn't be present because he was bedridden. Bob later put his own home address name on Roman's accounts. Roman became concerned when he stopped receiving monthly statements from the bank. Roman contacted the bank immediately and law enforcement. So again, they take advantage of people who are not able to like completely follow up. But in this case, he knew he was supposed to get monthly statements, which a lot of the older people do like paper statements and things like that. They're not real, email statements, paperless statements. Like that is not meant for the elderly. Definitely if they do have that, I would switch them all back to paper statements. That way they have physical documentation in their hand. Um, yes, I know it's now mail, but it'll get the job done, and then they'll in situations like this they'll be able to recognize when something is wrong. Let's just say the bills are online, he just goes online and pays it. He would never know, um, if something was going on. Financial exploitation, fraud by representative or the payee. Carolee appeared to take good care of the older adults, including veterans, who lived in a group home where she worked. Because most of the residents were disabled and had no family to represent them, Carolee became the representative payee for their Social Security and veterans benefits. The regular postal carrier became curious when she started delivering over 30 envelopes from Social Security and veterans benefits to Carolee's home each month. He thought she lived alone, so he notified the local postal inspector through the U.S. Postal Inspection Service hotline, Veterans Affairs, and Adult Protective Services. So yes, in this case, that was a little much. 30 of them, you're not you don't have access to over 30 residents is accounts and stuff like that. I would understand maybe 5 the most because you do become close to some of these elderlies, like you're almost become family to them, especially if they don't have family that come visit very often or have family at all. um so yes, so there are times where some of the caregivers, professionals, and nurses, things like that, they become, the other person's caregiver, and it just so happens to be like that. And most of the time it works out, but then there's sometimes who purposely do it for the wrong intentions, or they're just hustling up just so that way she can get the Social Security. Now, whether things were actually being continue to be taken care of, that was a different story. But yeah, there's some may be paid, but the rest of their money is gone. um, Financial exploitation, inappropriate product by mortgage broker. So again, John 68 wanted to provide his wife Vicky 62 and leave money for his children when he died. He and his wife thought their home would provide this economic security after they both retire. Less than a year after his retirement, John had a massive stroke and died. Vicky contacted a mortgage broker whose as she saw in a local magazine. The mortgage broker persuaded Vicky, who had been diagnosed with dementia, to sign a reverse mortgage on her house. Vicky's daughter learned of this transaction and contacted local law enforcement and Vicky's mortgage lender. So basically, she was getting ready to, what? Oh my God. Like you mortgage your house, you don't own it anymore. So basically, what Vicky was trying to probably do is buy the house once Vicky couldn't pay the loan anymore, the payments. Anyway, so that is financial exploitation by trusted professionals. Now let's try by strangers. And we all know what strangers have. You steal checks, you steal their identity, you have all this fraud. But they distinctly charge older elderly people. And I just seen something on this. Wasn't there a movie? I might have to look it up because I don't know if it was like a movie or a show or something to where um God, what was it? And it had to do with like this large ring. Um he was doing they were basically frauding the system trying to make money, theft and things like that. So I guess somebody called this lady pretending to be the granddaughter, had the voice down and everything. And the grandma, begging the grandma to send them some money. The grandma sends some money and then calls the dad saying, "Hey, your daughter's in trouble. Had to send her some money." And the dad was like, "She's right here next to me," kind of thing. And all this like saying, and the daughter was like, "No, I didn't send you. I didn't ask for anything." And she was just like, basically send her whole retirement. And the son, or her son, or the dad to the granddaughter, was pissed and did his investigation, found out how it was done and everything. But it is possible, like there are people who are out there that target the elderly people. So financial exploitation, internet identity theft by stranger. Niera, 71, was single, disabled, and retired when she got an email from her bank requesting verification of her account numbers. Niera complied. Later, she opened an email that she thought was from government official investigating Medicare fraud. The email asked her to provide her Medicare number to verify that there was no fraud on her account. When her bank manager called to confirm that she wanted to close her accounts, Nara learned the money in her savings and checkings accounts were gone. She told the bank manager about the bank email and he told her that it must have been a scam. When she explained how she'd given her Medicare number after the second email, the bank manager contacted the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare for Federal Bureau of Investigation and Adult Protective Services. So I know it's changed. I think within like the last 5 years or so. I think it's been a while since they changed it, but I know back in the day, Medicare's medical ID number, when you used to go to the doctors, they'd be like, "Oh, let me see your medical cards." Their medical ID number was always the social security number, followed by a letter or a couple of letters. Um, so that was a big problem, and I think that's over the years, many elderlies were getting their social security stolen by Medicare. That's why they would always go after Medicare, because they would use personal information in everyday matters, like their medical card. It's like, why not get them a medical ID number just like everybody else does? Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, they don't use social security numbers. Whoever thought of that was a moron. But anyway, um so this way they did it real nonchalant. They asked for about, "Hey, can you confirm your account numbers?" Well, the only way to have access to their account numbers is to have their social security number. How else are you gonna get their social security numbers? By pretending to be Medicare and saying, "Hey, can you confirm your Medicare number or your Medicare account or whatever?" It's not that hard. And unfortunately, these elderly people, they just I'm glad my parents are starting to recognize some of the things, but they will eventually become victims of some of these, and I'm hoping not, but it's hard to like keep them up to date on this. You really got to keep the elderly up to date. Like I try to tell them, like, don't answer your phone, don't do this, don't even call back, don't even text back, don't even open it. Just report it and block it, delete it and block it, or block it and delete it. Block, report, delete, block, report, delete, block, report, delete. Those are the three steps you need. Block, report, delete. Don't ever open up a message that comes from a number that you don't know, unless it's like one of those short ones and it's more than likely and it says guess on it because you're subscribed to the guesses text so you can receive all their promotions and stuff, like me. But you know, Medicare is a big way of really, I think the government needs to look at Medicare and really protect their systems and how they do things. Arturo, financial exploitation fraud by new sweetheart. So somebody pretending to be your boyfriend or girlfriend, or who's showing interest in you. Arturo was popular hairstylist. He was charming and attentive to widows and older women, and often asked clients who seemed well off out to dinner. During these meals, Arturo discussed his financial woes. Some customers gave him their bank account information and put him on their accounts just in case. Arturo helped three of these wealthy women manage their real estate investments. Two of them even made him a joint owner of their homes. God dang, he must have been one suave rico. Okay, when one customer died, the executor discovered her bank and investment accounts were depleted. Her home now belonged to Arturo, and heirlooms were missing. The executor contacted Adult Protective Services, local law enforcement, and the FBI. Yeah, he was definitely Rico Suave. He was a grifter. Definitely a grifter. Financial exploitation, grandparent scam by stranger. See, scam. Charlie 82 received a phone call from a sheriff in New Orleans. Ah, the police scam. Okay. He said Charlie's grandson had been arrested for intoxication. This is kind of like the one I was kind of telling you guys. To be released, the sheriff said that someone needed to pay the grandson's fine and that his parents were not home. The sheriff told Charlie to wire money to an online address. After the money was delivered, Charlie got a call from someone he thought was his grandson saying that he needed money to get home from New Orleans. Charlie became suspicious when he asked the person claiming to be his grandson a few personal questions that he couldn't answer. The call ended amicably. Then Charlie called a nearby Federal Bureau of Investigation field office to report the incident and filed a complaint with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center online. So again, this is kind of like what I was talking about earlier. They get you to, they tell you that they have your granddaughter. They la la la. They won't release them until you send them money, then they send them money, then they have somebody call sounding like the grandchild claiming, now I need now that I got out, now that you helped me get out of jail, now I need a way to get home. Like, can you help me out again? And then, questions, start to raise, and then obviously they just completely hang up when they already got the money. They got most of the money, so they're just gonna hang up and not even try to fight for the rest. They're just gonna be like, I don't know, bye. They're really hoping that you don't ask them questions. That's why they do that. Financial exploitation, home repair scam by stranger, and I seen this one too. At 83, Shirley, who was retired lawyer, now lived alone after the death of her husband. It had become difficult to keep up repairs on her house. One day, a handyman she never seen before rang her doorbell and told her the gutters on her house needed to be cleaned and that she might need a new roof. Because she didn't have anyone else to help her with these tasks, Shirley paid him $500 to clean the gutters and an additional $10,000 as a down payment for a new roof. She never saw the handyman again. She told a neighbor what had happened, and the neighbor contacted Adult Protective Services, local law enforcement, and state consumers protection agency with the attorney generals. See, sometimes like this too, you really got to be careful, because if they're not a legit um company, like register company, it's going to be hard to really punish them and especially locate them. And if you never seen this person, you don't have no company information, you don't have no personal information, you just basically given this stranger all your money and no way to access them. You can report it, there's going to be a report, but to find this person is and to get your money back, that is not going to happen. Trust me, I've been scammed before. Believe it or not, I have. No matter how paranoid I am to get scammed, no matter how well in depth I try to do my research, there was one time where I was just very overwhelmed. Messages were coming. We're looking for a new place. Um, my husband wasn't he was supposed to be helping me at the time, but he wasn't. So like all these emails were bombarding me, and I was trying to send him messages, and I guess I sent him the wrong message. Because usually I don't really send messages from like Craigslist. I don't go on Craigslist and look at it, but when people, when you put an ad out there, people are responding to you, you go and do your research, and it's like, where did I find you at? What, like, when I go in and like look up and ask like, hey, how much is this, how much is this out, and like I'm like, wait, I never went to Craigslist. So when I went back and looked at it, I'm like, shoot, like this was a Craigslist ad that somehow, I don't know if I responded to or didn't realize it got mixed up, or maybe I did respond and was like, okay, well, we'll just see, and if it's a scam, it's a scam. I can read it out, with the rest of the messages, but like looking through 20 emails at a time, I think I personally got confused, and I sent it to my husband, and we're literally discussing, discussing terms, blah blah blah, sent money, and I'm like, wait, who is this person? Like after a couple of like, viewing the house and things like that, I was just kind of like, I just started getting bad feeling, and I'm like, no, let me go back and look at this. There's just something that's telling me, like, how you get that feeling, like now you're asking, you already got this, you got this, and then the next payment you're telling me to put it here. Like, why are you telling me to put it in a hiding spot? Why can't I just leave it on the counter and you come get it, kind of thing, or whatever. But anywho, like, then that's when I went back. I was like, oh shit, it was a Craigslist ad, and pretty much I already know Craigslist is not. That's all they're known for, is scamming. Like, I don't even know why Craigslist is still in business, but um every now and then you'll get lucky and hit a normal person, but I never go on Craigslist anymore like I used to. That's like for desperation, last minute things, and I think that's what happened. It was a desperation moment, and they took advantage of my desperation. So never again. That's why I was like, you know what, next, like this time when we moved, I was like, we gotta start looking months in advance, even before our lease ends, because like, which is stupid, because most places, it's like when you're looking for a place, like they want you to already tell the other apartment like you're leaving, but I'm like, you can't even guarantee that I'm gonna stay here. Why am I gonna like like, it makes no sense. Like, I don't understand. Like, they're like, no, well, you can't do this and you can't have that and you can't. I'm like, but that's stupid. Why am I going to tell them and then you deny me, and then I tell them I'm not going to be staying here anymore? Then I really got to go. Where the hell am I going to go if you tell me no and they tell me, and I already told them no? Like, it's just so like, they're like, no, we can't do it any far in advance than 1 month or 2 months, and you already got to already put in your notice and all this other stuff. And I'm like, that is stupid. Like, that is real dumb. So like half the time I tell them like, no, I'm not renting right now, because it's like, why? Why are you gonna make me put in a notice one place when it's not even for sure that you're gonna let me live here? Like, it's so stupid. But anyway, so that's how that works. Then we have the lottery scam. Armando 78 was thrilled when someone from the lottery called to confirm he had won $10,000. The person on the phone said that they would send the money after Armando sent a winner's fee of $500. Thinking only about what he would do with the winnings, he wired the $500 winner's fee to the address the caller provided. Because he did not receive the promised lottery winnings after a month, he contacted Federal Trade Commission. So, I read it and I didn't really. Okay. So, if you won something but you got to pay a fee to get it, then you really didn't win anything. Just please inform your elderly parents. If somebody was to call and tell you you won something, but they want you to make a fee to get the money you won, then it's it's not real. It's you didn't win anything. Um, that's the easiest way to put it. Sorry to say, but if you want something, then they should just send it to you. If y- they shouldn't be asking you for a fee for you to get your money that you want, like that just makes no sense. Okay, did this happen to you or someone you know? Has anyone taken or spent your money without your permission? Has anyone sold or used things that belong to you without your permission? This can this could include your bank or credit cards, your checks, your personal property, or your documents. Has anyone made you sign legal documents you didn't understand? Power of attorney, signing the deed over. Has anyone forced, convinced, or misled you to give them something that belonged to you? This could include a bank account, a credit card, a deed to a house, personal property, or other documents. Has anyone pretended to be you to obtain goods or money? Basically, claiming to be you, identity theft. Has anyone kept money from you that belonged to you? Has anyone stopped you from using your own money or kept information about your money from you? Huh. Warning signs of financial exploitation include sudden changes in bank accounts or banking practices, including unexplained withdrawal or large sums of money by a person accompanying the elder. So, especially if you're like working in a bank, if you're a teller or something, and if you see somebody elderly come in um, with somebody else, and they're requesting larger amounts than normal, like elderly people really like going to bank tellers, like going inside to the bank, depositing their monies, or like that customer service one-on-one, that one-on-one teller. So over time, if you're a good teller, like you'll be with your job for at least 5 years, and you'll start to know the regulars, especially the elderlies and things like that. So if you ever see an elderly that is coming in with somebody that you never seen before, or um they're taking out larger sums of money than normal, it might be something you might want to look into. The inclusion of additional names on an elder's bank signature card, unauthorized withdrawal of elder's funds using the elder's ATM card, abrupt changes in a will or other financial documents, unexplained disappearance of funds of valuable possessions, substandard care being provided, or bills left unpaid despite the availability of adequate financial resources, where they're just not paying the bills. They're just, it's like, and who cares? Discovery of an elder signature being forged for financial transactions or for the titles of his or her possessions. Sudden appearance of previously uninvolved relatives claiming their rights to an elder's property or possessions. That means they're under physical abuse, not just financial abuse. Unexplained sudden transfer of assets to a family member or someone outside the family. The provisions of services that are not necessary. An elder's report of financial exploitation. And then it says report abuse. Neglect and abandonment. So again, June 15th is elderly abuse. We are going to be, again, Vivid Lifestyle, we are dedicated to help heal the wound of abuse. We will be looking at securing a date for our function here. I'm hoping it will be on June 15th, but we did secure a location. We are securing funds for this event. So please, please, please either go to the QR code in the corner, or go down to the link that is flashing at the bottom, scrolling at the bottom of the screen, or to the link that is in the description of the channel. It's all the same. It'll all take you to the same place. Please go there, click the first box on it, and that'll be able to send you to a place where you're able to send donations. We are asking for $3,000 to begin with, $1,000 to print out our flyers and brochures and things like that, all our merchandise for this upcoming event. Again, I am trying to schedule it, trying to lock in the June 15th, so that literally only gives us 2 weeks to kind of raise this money. I'm looking at $1,000 for that, and then I'm also looking at $2,000 to start helping families, adult women, men, and children, and families to secure safe locations for whoever is in a abusive situation. So again, please go down to the link. If you're not able to support financially, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Like, subscribe, and share this video. We are trying to work amazing things with this. So please, and then we're also looking for a volunteer DJ that is willing to come up and with our to come with to our setup and just kind of keep our tent a little bumping for a little couple of hours. We're not asking y'all to stay a full day. We're just asking for a few hours. Um, or if you want to stay the whole day, that is completely up to you. It'll get y'all free exposure and free. I will, I'm not gonna say no. Don't pass out your card if somebody asks us about DJing. So we're all here to help each other and small businesses and things like this, small organizations. So please, 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 if you are in the local area and if you are a DJ, we are looking for, I am looking for a volunteer DJ. Again, this is for a good cause. We help heal the wound of abuse. This is for, this month will be for the elderly awareness of elderly abuse. Again, and I am going to try to look for future dates too. I do want to do at least once a month. Um, Max to twice a month. So I could definitely, the 15th is what I'm looking at. If we can get one in before the end of the month, that'll be great. If not, it'll be probably at the beginning of July. Again, like I said, I want to do multiple events this throughout the summer. It's going to raise a lot of it's going to raise a lot of awareness, and we're going to be in a high traffic area, so it's going to be very good and very positive. So again, if you would like to help support this organization and all the wonderful things that we do for the abuse, please, please, please go to the link that's scrolling at the bottom, or the link that's in the description of this video, or the QR code in the corner of the screen. It'll all take you to the same place. Again, the QR code, if you are having issues, more than likely you have some kind of blocker on your popping up, on whether it's on your phone or something, because again, my husband was able to do it on his phone, but I wasn't. It's showing me not a safe, secure website or something like that. So I must have additional additional, security on my phone. So again, go to the link down at the bottom that's scrolling here. That's the HTTPS double dot backslash link dot space backslash addition T with D. This link is also in the description of this channel, or you could just, scan the QR code and it'll take you there. Click the button that says support Vivid Lifestyles, VVLS, and it'll take you there. Again, the telephone numbers for the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and the National Child Abuse Hotline, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is in the chat. I will add it to the description of this video at the end of this video when I go back and do it. I should just do it now, but no. not going to, because then I'll get distracted. So let's continue with the stories. We have neglect and abandonment is also a form of abuse. And this happens a lot to the elderly, um, where unfortunately people can't come visit the elderly every day. So um, they come every couple of days, but that's understandable. This is more for like the people who just kind of like don't come for months, knowing that their loved one is in sitting in their feces and urine. So, and then they don't hire anybody. They don't really do anything for them. So abandonment by an adult daughter. Juliet, 87, lived with her daughter, Nanette, for the past 3 years. Nanette helped Juliet with daily activities such as getting her meals, bathing, and cleaning the house. Nanette decided to move in with her boyfriend in another state and left her mother alone in her home. About a week later, Juliet's niece happened to be in town and stopped by to visit her aunts. She saw that the inside of the house was in very bad condition and found Juliet in poor health. Juliet's niece contacted Adult Protective Services and the state area agency. So Nanette really should have, you know, made other arrangements for her mom. She should have asked another relative to come by to stay with her. She should have either, if wasn't going to take her with her. There were so many different ways. She should have looked into homes. She should have looked into um, residencies for her mom. But just to believe her, knowing she's in a bad condition, just that's just not cool. Kofi, 84, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease and moved in with his daughter's family. Sometimes Kofi had trouble sleeping, had physical and verbal outbursts, and began wandering. His daughter and son in law were afraid that Kofi might wander out of the house if they left him alone. They locked the doors to the house so that Kofi could not get out and wander around when they left for work. A neighbor noticed Kofi trying to get out of the house. She contacted local police and adult protective services. So again, I'm not sure they were doing this like purposely to harm them, but it is, you can't lock somebody in the house because what if there was a fire? They weren't going to be able to get out. Like you're physically setting them up to like fail. So again, they would have to do is just hire a sitter for the day. Like you're only gone at work for 8 hours of the day. Like hire somebody to come in. Like you don't. Yes, a nursing aide will be nice. A home health aide will be nice, but even if it's just a neighbor, like, hey, can you or a niece or a daughter, like, can you stay there for a few hours? You can, you can leave for a couple hours but go back. Like I need you to constantly, check you, or 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, just to make sure he's all right. But if he wandered off, he really needed to be supervised 24/7. um Tamara, 76, lived alone but had trouble getting around. Her son and his wife asked Tamara to move in with him. Oh, to move in with them. Daughter-in-law, 76, lived alone. Okay, her son and his wife asked Tamara to move in with them. Okay. Tamara had her own bedroom on the second floor and stayed there most of the time. She could not use the stairs easily. Her son and daughter-in-law both traveled frequently for work and sometimes neglected to give her adequate food and water. They also failed to groom her, to clean her room consistently. One day, Tamara became dizzy, weak, and disoriented, so her daughter took her to the hospital. The hospital staff discovered that she was dehydrated, disheveled, and obviously unwashed. They asked about her care, but Tamara says she was well cared for. Nevertheless, as required by law, the hospital staff reported suspected neglect to Adult Protective Services. Again, during those times that they're gone, they should have had somebody stay with her. You can't. They're not a dog. You can't just leave a bowl full of food and be gone for 2 or 3 days and expect them to survive. and not to be losing weight. I mean, and then you have her upstairs to where she doesn't have access to anything. She really should have been in a downstairs room and where she was able to come out and be able to have access to the kitchen, access to the restroom, things like that. I'm sure there was a restroom upstairs, but still there's no food upstairs. You don't have access to water. Where are you going to have her drink out of the restroom faucet? Like no. No. Neglected by sons. Clarence, 79, invited his two adult sons to move in with him so he would not be alone after his wife died. The sons soon sent Clarence out to live in the shed and locked him out of the house. Oh, yeah. See, see. I swear, my kids ever did this to me, I take them in. I brought them in this world. I would take them out. I don't care how old I am. Sometimes his son put food out for him occasionally. For him, occasionally they gave him a basin of cold water with a washcloth. When one of Clarence's neighbors noticed that Clarence seemed to be living in the shed, she called Adult Protective Services anonymously and reported what she had seen. She then decided Clarence may need immediate help, so she called police to do a welfare check. Put him out in the barn? Are you serious? Put your ass out in the barn. I'm sorry, but dang, kids could be such a monster sometimes. I have a feeling like this is what's gonna happen to my parents for my sister because my sister's such money hungry, and I have a feeling she would do some dirty shenanigans like this. She would. I have a feeling she would convince my parents to sign like so many papers, especially since she works for banks and things like that. And I have a feeling like, yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, you're talking about having life insurance on mom and dad. Like they have their own life insurance. Like they pay for. Like their stuff is already paid for. Why do you need life insurance on mom and dad? Like anyway, this is the same one that the son doesn't really care for her. But anyway, we're going to get off of that. Abandonment by guardian and conservator. Henrietta, 88, required a court appointed guardian due to combined physical and mental disabilities that left her partially incapacitated. Wow, I know the word, and I'm just like, that was just one. Okay. Her knee. Have you ever had that before where you think a word is misspelled wrong? Yeah, like that. That was my mom. Like, what? And yeah, it was almost like caterpillar. It's like, I know it's not caterpillar, it's caterpillar. But anyway, Roberta was appointed as Henrietta's guardian. Roberta visited Henrietta in her home a few times, but then never came back and made no further arrangements for her care. A neighbor noticed the lack of activity at Henrietta's house. The neighbor knocked but couldn't get Henrietta to answer doors, so she called law enforcement for a welfare check and adult protective services. So it's kind of like what happens to all conservatorships. They become their conservator or their guardian, and they take their bank and leave them with nothing, and they don't even help them out in any kind of physical way. Abandonment by guardian conservator. June 73 suffered a severe brain injury. Again, another brain injury. At first, she was able to care for herself, but as she got worse, a court appointed Sam as her legal guardian to assist her. See, and I don't understand how courts come up with their legal guardians. I don't know. He saw June 2 times in the first 6 months, but did not return to see June and did not arrange for her care. He falsified reports to the court stating that he saw June every 3 months. As a result, no one knew that June was living on her own without Sam's help. June was unable to remember to clean her house, and the trash had not been taken out in many months. Due to the deterioration of the house, June received a visit from a county health officer who discovered that June was very frail. The county health officer was a mandatory reporter and called Adult Protective Services. APS petitioned the court for a new guardian. Thank God. But I don't understand why, like, how do these courts pick these guardians? I swear. Like, can I just go pick up a random stranger off the street and say, oh, can I be his guardian? And they just point me guardian? Like, really? Did this happen to you or someone you know? Has this person who is supposed to take care of you or to take you to the grocery store, shopping, or to do a place of worship stopped taking you there? Has the person who is supposed to help with household chores or cooking or eating stopped helping you? Has the person who is supposed to help you get Has the person who is supposed to help get you to the doctor or take medicines at the right times or amounts or get glasses or dentures stop helping you? Has the person who is supposed to help bathe or shower or get in and out or bed or get dressed or go to the toilet stopped helping you? Has the person who is supposed to help you pay bills or manage your money stopped loving you? I mean, not stop loving you, stop helping you. I mean, it's the same thing. You might as well say they stopped loving you, right? Has anyone left you alone or deserted you at home or elsewhere for a long period of time? Warning signs of neglect include dehydration, malnutrition, untreated bed sores, and poor personal hygiene. We all know where bed sores are. I swear, I thought I was gonna get them one time when I got robbed and abused and whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I couldn't move for a while. Although I did. Um, but yeah, I was just like, I have to roll over before I get bed sores because bed sores are not. I never had them, but yeah, I've seen them and they're not very. They don't look very pleasant either. Unattended or untreated health problems, hazardous, hazardous or unsafe living condition arrangements. For example, improper wiring, no heat, or no running water. I swear, these are the basic necessity of life. And if you leave an elderly person with no running water, like God, for like I hope you enjoy your life, your afterlife in Hades. In yes, yes. Unsanitary and unclean living conditions. For example, dirt, fleas, lice on person, soiled bedding, fecal urine smell, inadequate clothing. And elders report. This is what I'm saying. Like, if you don't have give them access to a restroom, what do you think is gonna happen? And elders report of being neglected, the desertion of an elder at a hospital, a nursing facility, or other similar institution, the desertion of an elder at a shopping center or other public location, and elders report of being abandoned. And then I'm sure there's not many of these, but there are some. Um, which is going to be the S abuse, so sexual abuse. And of course, I'm not monetized, so I'm going to say it. So as long as I'm not monetized, I'm going to speak my mind. So sexual abuse. Come on, come on. Okay, while this is pulling up, I'm gonna go check my food real quick. Okay. So, sexual abuse by a nursing aide. Margaret, 77, lived in a nursing home that was known for good residential care. One day, a nursing aide noticed that Margaret appeared anxious, but Margaret would not explain why. While preparing her for a bath, the nursing aide saw multiple bruises on Margaret's arm, neck, and back, and asked what happened. Initially, Margaret did not say anything. Subsequently, the doctor observed that Margaret had several bruises on her arm, neck, and back. Aide has sexual to adult protective services, and APS initiated an investigation involving the ombudsman and local law enforcement. Eduardo, 80, had a stroke. His family hired an in home caregiver to assist with his daily needs, such as bathing and going to the toilet. One day, his daughter stopped by to help see her dad. As she helped him get dressed, he winced, and she noticed that his genital area was red and irritated. He, Her father started to cry and mumbled something about the caregiver hurting him there. The daughter immediately called Adult Protective Services to make a report. She also called the agency where the caregiver worked, made a complaint, and ended services. APS alerted the law enforcement. So again, there are some weirdos out there that they like the younger ones, they also like the older ones. So that's just disgusting. But yes, it happens. Pearl, 70, took her nephew in when his mother could not handle his behavior problems. The nephew began viewing um, corn, or how can I say this? Pornography. I guess that's the next thing. Pornography on the TV that he shared with his aunt. Pearl was uncomfortable about this and told her nephew to stop. One day, the nephew came home and was high on drugs. He forced himself sexually upon his aunt. Pearl called 911 for the local law enforcement and went to the hospital where she met with a sexual assault victim specialist. Sexual abuse by guardian or conservator. Angela, 71, required guardianship because of her continued alcohol and drug abuse. The court appointed Richard as her guardian. Soon after his appointment, he gave Angela more drugs, sexually assaulted her, and threatened her with prison for her drug use if she reported him. Angela summoned the courage to go to the local police and contact a lawyer to obtain new guardian. I like I can understand it's easier for the mental abuse because yeah, yelling. I mean, sometimes people get frustrated and they're just like stop, you know, or shit, you know. But and sometimes like those can be, but you're you're putting something where something shouldn't be put. Where anything should be put. Like that's just I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. That's disgusting. Did this happen to you or someone you know? Has anyone forced you to have sexual intercourse or oral sex if you did not want to? Has anyone touched you in a sexual way or forced you to touch them in a sexual way against your will? Has anyone made you undress or expose yourself when you didn't want to? Has anyone taken pictures of you with your clothes partially or completely off when you didn't want them to? Has anyone talked to you in a sexual way that made you feel uncomfortable? Has anyone made you watch pornography against your will? Warning signs for sexual abuse include bruises around the breast or genital area, unexplained venereal disease or genital infection. So, like if you have like some type of STD or whatever, it's like, dude, homie, like you're not even supposed to be having sex right now. Like, how in the heck did you get that? Kind of thing. Yes. Unexplained vaginal or anal bleeding, changes in an adult, unless you know, you push too hard while you're pooping, that, you know, hemorrhoids. But other than that, there should be no, I mean, especially in the vaginal or, vaginal area. But anal bleeding, changes in an older adult's demeanor, such as showering fear or becoming withdrawn when a specific person is around. So again, like the you could feel the mood change. Let's say they were they love the water and they'd always like taking baths and showers and things like that. Then all of a sudden they just don't want to anymore, and you're like, that is a change in behavior. Or was he someone's acting fine and dandy, and then somebody comes around and then they just kind of like close off, they stop speaking, or because they're probably going to be afraid to say something, or that person's monitoring what they're saying and things like that. So it just kind of makes it uncomfortable. So those are things that you definitely want to look out for if you're in that position to where things just all of a sudden become uncomfortable or tense or something, then something's wrong. Evidence of pornographic material being shown to older adult with diminished capacity, blood found on sheets, linens, and older adult's clothing, and elders report of being sexually assaulted of rape. So again, the warning signs of these type of abuse for physical, it's bruises, black eyes, welts, laceration, rope marks, bone fractures, broken bones, skull fractures, open wound cuts, punctures, untreated injuries in various stages of healing, sprains, dislocations, or internal injuries, bleeding, broken eyeglasses, frames, physical signs of being subjected to punishment or signs of being restrained, laboratory findings of medication overdose or underutilization of prescribed drugs, and older adults' sudden change in behavior. The caregiver's refusal to allow visitors to see, speak to an older adult alone, and older adults report of being hit, slapped, kicked, or mistreated. Warning signs of emotional or psychological abuse: being emotionally upset or agitated, being extremely withdrawn, not communicative or non responsive, unusual behavior such as sucking, biting, rocking, witnessing a caregiver controlling or isolating an older adult, like I said, exhibiting a change in sleeping patterns or eating habits, personality changes such as apologizing excessively, depression or anxiety, an older adult report of being verbally or emotionally mistreated. Warning signs of financial exploitation: sudden changes in bank accounts or banking practices, including an unexplained withdrawal of large sums of money by a person accompanying the older adult, the inclusion of additional names on an older adult's bank signature card, unauthorized withdrawal of older adult funds using their ATM card, abrupt changes in a will or other financial documents, unexplained disappearance of funds or valuable possessions, provisions of substandard care or bills left unpaid despite the availability of adequate financial resources. Please turn that down. Thank you. Discovery of a forged signature for financial transactions or for the titles of the older adult's possessions, sudden appearance of previously involved relatives claiming their rights to an older adult's property or possessions, unexplained sudden transfer of assets to family members or someone outside the family, the provision of services um, that are not necessary, an older adult's report of financial exploitation, unexplained credit card charges. Warning signs of neglect and abandonment: dehydration, malnutrition, untreated bed sores, and poor personal hygiene, unattended or untreated health problems, hazardous or unsafe living conditions, arrangements, for example, improper wiring, no heat, no running, unsanitary and unclean living conditions, dirt, fleas, lice on person, soil bedding, fecal urine smell, inadequate clothing, the desertion of an older adult at a hospital, a nursing facility, or other similar institution, or a shopping center or other public location. An older adult's report of being neglected or abandoned, lack of food in the refrigerator or cupboards. Warning signs of sexual abuse: bruises around the breast or genital area, unexplained venereal disease or genital infections, unexplained vaginal or anal bleeding, changes in older adults' demeanor, such as showing fear or becoming withdrawn when a specific person is around, evidence of pornographic materials being shown to an older adult with diminished capacity, blood found on sheets, linens, and or on or an older adult's clothing, and older adults report of being sexually assaulted or raped. So hopefully, oh, and what I want to do is put some of these information on a flyer. I do want to make these flyers and have them printed. It is going to cost money, so that is why we are looking to fundraise roughly $1,000 for this event coming up. Please, we are needing these. Without this funds, we more than likely will not be able to do this event. Um, again, donations are imperative. The only way we can help stop some of these abuse is by getting these elderlies out of the situation they are in, getting them the right doctors or the right medical treatment, the right lawyers, the right resources that they need. That way they can overcome this kind of situation. Um, let's see, Texas, because we are in Texas. If you go to this website, they have them for each state. So you can go in and print out whatever state that you're in. Um, I'm opening up Texas because that's the state I'm in. Um, so let me do one thing real quick. I think I closed it out. That's probably why it's not there no more. Oh my gosh, it still has it. Okay. Is it gonna pop up now? Okay. Page not found. Let's try this again. And still not popping up. Okay. Fine then, Mr. Justice.gov. Okay. So guess that's not gonna help. So again, that is all the information in regards to adults abuse. Again, like I said, the importance of abuse awareness is prevention, support, education, and reporting abuse. So we definitely want to prevent by recognizing the signs of abuse. We definitely want to support the awareness, um, uh, so that way they can help those Definitely want to donate. There's the QR code is also in the chat, and the link is also on my channel as well. There are so many different ways you can get to it, to my donation page. Again, the I wonder if I can put. Let me see. Text. Let me see what this we add here. Oh, excuse me. No, my computer is really slow today. It was working fine yesterday. Now I don't want to do nothing. Okay, so I will add. You know what? Let me add it in now. Okay, so I did add the numbers. The National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE, National Child Abuse Hotline 1-800-422-4453, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOSS. So those are also in the description of this video, as well as in the chats. So y'all can get that information there. Again, we're asking you to raise $1,000 so that way we can have this event on June 16. It is going to be another fundraising event. We are going to be passing that money is going to go towards getting these flyers and information pamphlets um, made, and as well as some merchandise so that way we can sell there as well, or you know donation, or they can give a donation for the product, kind of thing. So, but everything that we earn at that event is going to go back towards Vivid Lifestyles VVLS to help heal the wound of abuse. So we are going to do that, and yeah. So, and then we are asking with an addition of the $1,000, an extra $2,000, so that way we can start helping some of the families that have been requesting help. Unfortunately, we did have to turn some families. I can't even say families. Some cases away, um, just for the fact that we lack the funding to help them, which is so unfortunate. I have been trying to help as much as I can out of my own pocket, but since this is a nonprofit organization, funds, I don't have an income coming in. So my personal funds are truly diminishing very quick. So I am asking and I'm pleading with you guys to please donate to the organization so we can continue to help out. Again, thank you all for being here. This is just some information. This is important information that I want to give out to you guys in regards to elderly abuse. Elderly abuse awareness is on June 15th, which is in about 2 weeks, about a week and 6 days now. So yesterday would have been 2 weeks, but anyway. So again, please, make sure you're treating people right. Make sure um, you're respecting your out. Please respect your elders. They have done a lot for us, whether they fought for our country, whether they raised you, whether they care for you, whether they didn't raise you or they didn't care for you. We still got to take care of our elderly. Um, they're no less important than anybody else here. They actually do have a lot of knowledge. You may be surprised on what you can learn from an elder person. So please respect your elders, respect your elders, respect your elders, because one day you will become an elderly and you would you are going to want somebody to respect you. Um, you are definitely not going to want some of these things happening to you when you're older. You may not think that they may happen to you, but I'm sure, like some of these stories, I'm sure they didn't think anything was going to happen to them. But you definitely want to be aware of the situations, be on the lookout. And if you're not an elderly, you have an elder, and if you have an elderly parent or an elderly loved one, please, please, please be aware of the signs. I'm telling you, I worked in the business and it is horrible. Like, I swear, like my morals were put to the test every day, my moral values. And that is why I know I just can't still go back. Like he keeps telling me to go back and whatnot, but I'm just like, why? Why? It was so miserable. Like you have to be so heartless to be in the medical field. Like you have to be cold-hearted. And I should even say to be in the medical field because that's wrong. Because there are some people who still genuinely care, but then they're in a position to where they have a good job. They're not put in a position to where they got to make choices that um may save a life or not. But anyway, I'm just saying, you guys need to be aware of these things. It happens. I'm telling you all too much. And I'm gonna probably go back and look for that. Um, I don't know if it was a movie or a show or maybe it was like even a little clip that I seen from these little short stories that they have, like that mask one where she was burned and all of a sudden she's considered a hoax to this whole country or something, and this guy wants to marry her or whatever. I don't know if y'all heard that little commercial or whatever, but oh my god, there was one about where they took advantage. And I have a feeling it's a movie. I just gotta go find it. I don't know if it's on like YouTube or Prime or anything like that, but I'm gonna go find it and then I'll mention it to you guys. But again, thank you for being here with me, guys. Y'all guys are the bestest. And again, don't forget to stay safe, stay positive, and respect your elders. Hi guys, pinkies up.